The morning sun cast long shadows across the pristine courtyard of Windsor Castle as Commander Sarah Mitchell adjusted her ceremonial uniform one final time. 23 years of faithful service had earned her the highest position any woman could achieve in the Royal Guard. Her polished boots clicked against the ancient stones as she walked toward the main entrance, where today's ceremony would take place. Sarah had seen many changes during her time at the palace. She had served under Queen Elizabeth with unwavering dedication, witnessing countless state functions, royal weddings, and solemn occasions. Each event had been executed with precision, following protocols established over centuries of tradition. The Royal Guard was the backbone of these ceremonies, their discipline and honor reflecting the dignity of the monarchy itself. Today was supposed to be different, yet familiar. Queen Camilla had requested a private ceremony in the courtyard, something she had been doing more frequently since her coronation. Sarah had noticed subtle changes in how things were being conducted under the new reign. Small alterations to long-standing traditions, new expectations that sometimes felt uncomfortable to the seasoned guards who had served for decades. As Sarah approached the designated area, she saw Queen Camilla standing near the ornate fountain, dressed in a flowing purple gown adorned with the crown jewels. Several other guards were already positioned around the perimeter, their faces stoic and professional. The morning air carried the scent of roses from the nearby garden, creating an almost peaceful atmosphere that belied the tension Sarah could sense in the air. Queen Camilla turned as Sarah approached, her expression unreadable. There was something in her posture that suggested this would not be an ordinary ceremonial greeting. Sarah had learned to read the subtle signs during her years of service, and every instinct told her that today would test everything she believed about duty, honor, and personal integrity. The Queen's ladies-in-waiting stood to one side, their faces carefully neutral as they watched the interaction unfold. Sarah could feel their eyes upon her as she came to attention, her training taking over despite the growing unease in her stomach. She had faced dangerous situations before, protected royals from potential threats, and maintained her composure during the most challenging circumstances. But something about this moment felt different. "Commander Mitchell," Queen Camilla's voice carried across the courtyard with unmistakable authority. "I have called you here today for a very specific purpose. Your reputation for excellence and unwavering service precedes you." Sarah remained at attention, her eyes fixed straight ahead as protocol demanded. "Your Majesty, I am honored to serve in whatever capacity you require." The Queen began to walk in a slow circle around Sarah, her heels clicking rhythmically against the stone. It was an unusual behavior that made Sarah's heart rate increase slightly. In all her years of service, she had never experienced such an interaction. The Queen's movement felt calculated, almost predatory in its deliberate nature. "Tell me, Commander," the Queen continued, her voice taking on a different tone, "what does loyalty mean to you? What does it mean to truly serve the crown with absolute dedication?" Sarah's mind raced as she considered her response. These questions seemed loaded with meaning beyond their surface appearance. "Your Majesty, loyalty means placing the honor and dignity of the crown above all personal considerations. It means upholding the traditions and protocols that have served the monarchy for generations." Queen Camilla stopped directly in front of Sarah, her piercing gaze meeting the commander's eyes for the first time. "Indeed. And would you say that absolute loyalty requires absolute submission? Complete surrender of one's personal dignity in service to something greater?" The question hung in the air like a challenge. Sarah felt a chill run down her spine as she began to understand where this conversation might be heading. Her years of experience had taught her to recognize manipulation and power plays, even when they came wrapped in royal protocol. "Your Majesty," Sarah replied carefully, I believe true loyalty is demonstrated through honorable service that maintains both personal integrity and respect for the institution we serve. A slight smile crossed Queen Camilla's face, but it did not reach her eyes. How interesting that you mention personal integrity, Commander. Today I want to test the true depth of your loyalty. I want to see if you are willing to demonstrate complete submission to the crown, regardless of your personal feelings. Sarah's heart began to pound as Queen Camilla moved closer, her voice dropping to barely above a whisper. The other guards remained motionless at their posts. But Sarah could sense their attention focused on this exchange. Whatever was about to happen would likely be witnessed by multiple people, making the stakes even higher. I want you to kneel before me, Commander Mitchell, Queen Camilla said with quiet intensity. Not the ceremonial kneel of respect, but a true submission. I want you to lower yourself to the ground and remain there until I grant you permission to rise. The words hit Sarah like a physical blow. In all her years of service, through countless ceremonies and protocols, she had never been asked to perform such an act of submission. The ceremonial kneel was part of formal occasions, a brief gesture of respect that honored tradition while maintaining dignity. What the Queen was requesting was something entirely different. Sarah's mind flashed through everything she had sworn to uphold. Her oath had been to serve with honor, to protect the dignity of the crown, and to maintain the highest standards of military bearing. What Queen Camilla was asking felt like a violation of everything those principles represented. Your Majesty, Sarah said, her voice steady despite the turmoil in her mind. I have served faithfully for 23 years, following all proper protocols and traditions. What you are requesting goes beyond established ceremony. Queen Camilla's expression hardened slightly. Are you questioning my authority, Commander? Are you suggesting that I do not have the right to expect complete obedience from those who serve me? The confrontation was escalating rapidly. Sarah could feel the weight of decades of tradition pressing down upon her. But something deeper was also stirring. Her father had been a military man who taught her that true honor sometimes required standing up for principles, even when it came at great personal cost. Her mother had instilled in her a sense of self-worth that could not be surrendered simply because someone demanded it. Your Majesty, I have never questioned your authority, Sarah replied with quiet dignity. However, what you are asking is not a matter of military protocol or ceremonial tradition. It appears to be a test of personal humiliation, and that is something I cannot participate in while maintaining my honor as a soldier and as a person. The silence that followed was deafening. Queen Camilla's face flushed slightly with anger while the surrounding guards shifted uncomfortably at their posts. Sarah knew that her career was likely ending in this moment, but she also knew that some principles were worth more than any position or benefit. You dare refuse a direct command from your queen? Camilla's voice rose with indignation. Do you understand the consequences of such insubordination? Sarah looked directly into the Queen's eyes, her voice calm and resolute. Your Majesty, I understand completely. I also understand that true service to the crown means upholding the values that make the monarchy worthy of respect. Demanding degrading acts of submission does not honor those values. The confrontation had reached a point of no return, and everyone present understood that something fundamental had just changed in the relationship between the crown and those who served it. The tension in the courtyard was suffocating as Queen Camilla processed Sarah's refusal. Her face had gone from flushed anger to an icy calm that was somehow more frightening than her previous outburst. The other guards remained frozen at their posts, caught between their duty to protect the Queen and their growing respect for Commander Mitchell's courage. Guards! Queen Camilla called out sharply, her voice echoing off the stone walls. Arrest Commander Mitchell immediately for insubordination and treason against the crown. Sarah felt her heart sink as she realized the full scope of what she had triggered. She had known there would be consequences, but the charge of treason carried implications far beyond losing her position. Two of the younger guards began to step forward hesitantly, their faces showing clear reluctance to arrest someone they had served alongside for years. "Stop!" came a firm voice from behind them. Captain Thomas Bradley, a veteran guard who had served even longer than Sarah, stepped into the courtyard. His weathered face showed the strain of the moment, but his voice carried absolute authority. "Your Majesty, with respect, I must question the appropriateness of these charges." Queen Camilla whirled to face the captain, her eyes blazing with fury. "How dare you question my judgment, Captain Bradley? This woman has openly defied my direct command in front of witnesses." Captain Bradley moved to stand beside Sarah, his posture respectful but unwavering. "Your Majesty, Commander Mitchell has served with distinction for over 2 decades. Her record is impeccable, and her loyalty to the crown has never been questioned. What you have witnessed today is not treason, but a woman upholding the honor and dignity that the Royal Guard represents." The confrontation was expanding beyond what anyone had anticipated. Other guards began to shift uncomfortably as they found themselves caught between conflicting loyalties. Some of the younger members looked confused and frightened, while the veterans seemed to be silently evaluating their own positions. "Captain Bradley," Queen Camilla said with dangerous quiet, "you are walking very close to the same line that Commander Mitchell has crossed. I suggest you reconsider your position before you join her in facing charges." But something unexpected was happening among the guards. Sergeant James Morrison, a decorated veteran, stepped forward to join Captain Bradley and Commander Mitchell. "Your Majesty, I must respectfully state that I support Captain Bradley's assessment. What we witnessed today was not insubordination, but a demonstration of the integrity we are sworn to uphold." One by one, more guards began to step forward. Not all of them, but enough to make a clear statement. These were not young recruits easily intimidated, but seasoned professionals who had devoted their lives to service and understood what true honor meant. Their faces showed the weight of their decision, but also a determination that could not be shaken. Queen Camilla found herself facing something she had not anticipated. Her authority was being challenged not by a single individual, but by a group of the most respected members of her own guard. The carefully orchestrated display of power she had planned was crumbling before her eyes. "This is mutiny," she declared, her voice rising with panic and rage. "I will not tolerate this behavior from people who are supposed to serve me without question." Captain Bradley stepped forward, his voice calm but carrying the weight of his years of experience. "Your Majesty, with the greatest respect, we do serve without question when it comes to protecting your safety, upholding the dignity of the crown, and maintaining the traditions that have made the monarchy a respected institution. However, we cannot and will not participate in actions that degrade those very principles." Sarah felt overwhelmed by the support she was receiving, but also deeply concerned about the consequences her colleagues might face. These were good people with families and careers who were risking everything to stand with her. She knew she had to try to minimize the damage to them. "Your Majesty," Sarah said, stepping slightly forward, "I take full responsibility for my actions today. These other guards have served you faithfully and should not face consequences for my decision. If you must pursue charges against someone, let it be against me alone." But Captain Bradley shook his head firmly. "Commander Mitchell, this is not about you alone anymore. This is about what kind of institution we serve and what values we represent. We stand together because we believe in something larger than any individual, including ourselves." Queen Camilla looked around the courtyard, taking in the faces of her guard. Some remained at their posts, clearly uncomfortable but unwilling to join either side. Others had stepped forward in solidarity with Sarah. The division was clear, and the implications were staggering. "You are all making a terrible mistake," she said, her voice shaking with emotion. "I am your queen, and you owe me absolute obedience. This rebellion will not be tolerated." Sergeant Morrison spoke up, his voice respectful but firm. "Your Majesty, we have served the crown faithfully for many years. We have protected previous monarchs with our lives, upheld traditions with pride, and maintained the highest standards of conduct. We are not rebels. But people who believe that true loyalty sometimes requires standing up for what is right." The Queen's ladies-in-waiting had been watching the entire confrontation with growing alarm. Lady Catherine Pemberton, the senior lady-in-waiting, finally stepped forward hesitantly. Her voice was soft but carried clear concern. "Your Majesty, perhaps this situation has escalated beyond what anyone intended. These are good people who have served loyally. Maybe there is a way to resolve this that preserves everyone's dignity." Queen Camilla turned on Lady Pemberton with startling viciousness. "How dare you suggest that I am in the wrong? These people have shown me disrespect and defiance, and you want me to simply overlook it?" The confrontation was spinning out of control, with positions hardening on both sides. Sarah realized that something needed to change before the situation became irreversible. She had started this by standing up for her principles, but now she needed to find a way to protect the people who had supported her. "Your Majesty," Sarah said, her voice cutting through the tension, "I propose a solution that might address everyone's concerns. Allow me to resign my position immediately and leave the palace grounds. No charges, no further confrontation, just a quiet departure that allows everyone to move forward." Captain Bradley immediately protested. "Commander Mitchell, you should not have to sacrifice your career for standing up for what is right." But Sarah held up her hand. "Captain, sometimes the best service we can provide is knowing when to step aside for the greater good. I have served with pride for 23 years, and I will leave with my honor intact." Queen Camilla considered this proposal, her mind clearly calculating the political implications. A public trial for treason would attract attention she probably did not want, especially if details of her demands became known. A quiet resignation might allow her to save face while removing the source of the confrontation. "Very well," she said finally, her voice cold and formal. "Commander Mitchell, I accept your resignation, effective immediately. You will leave the palace grounds within the hour and never return." The finality of those words hit everyone present like a physical blow. Sarah had spent more than 2 decades calling this place home, working alongside these people, dedicating her life to something she believed in. Now it was ending not in celebration of her service, but in conflict and division. As the Queen turned to leave, Captain Bradley called out one final time. "Your Majesty, Commander Mitchell deserves better than this after her years of faithful service." Queen Camilla paused without turning around. "Captain Bradley, I suggest you focus on your own position and consider whether you want to follow Commander Mitchell's example." Her words carried a clear threat that sent a chill through everyone present. Sarah knew that her departure would not end the underlying tensions. The guards who had supported her would face scrutiny and potential retaliation. The principles that had guided the Royal Guard for generations had been challenged, and the institution would have to find a way to move forward in the aftermath of this confrontation. The news of Commander Sarah Mitchell's resignation spread through the palace like wildfire, though the official version was carefully sanitized. According to the palace press office, Commander Mitchell had decided to pursue other opportunities after 23 years of distinguished service. No mention was made of the confrontation, the demands, or the unprecedented show of solidarity from her fellow guards. But inside the palace walls, the truth was impossible to hide. The guards who had witnessed the events spoke in hushed conversations during their breaks, their voices carrying a mixture of admiration for Sarah's courage and concern about what her departure meant for all of them. The younger guards looked to the veterans for guidance, sensing that something fundamental had shifted in their world. Captain Bradley found himself in an increasingly difficult position in the days following Sarah's departure. Queen Camilla had not directly confronted him about his support for Sarah, but the atmosphere had become noticeably colder. His requests for meetings were delayed, his recommendations questioned more thoroughly, and his authority subtly undermined in ways that were hard to document, but impossible to ignore. 3 weeks after Sarah's resignation, an unexpected visitor arrived at the palace. Prince William, who had been traveling abroad when the incident occurred, requested a private meeting with Captain Bradley. The meeting took place in a small office away from the main corridors, ensuring privacy for what would prove to be a significant conversation. "Captain Bradley," Prince William began, his expression serious but kind. "I have been made aware of recent events involving Commander Mitchell. I want to hear the truth of what happened, not the sanitized version that has been circulating." Captain Bradley felt relief wash over him as he realized he could finally speak openly about the situation. He recounted the entire confrontation in detail, from Queen Camilla's unusual demands to Sarah's dignified refusal, and the support she received from her colleagues. Prince William listened without interruption, his face showing growing concern as the story unfolded. "This is deeply troubling," Prince William said when Captain Bradley finished. "Commander Mitchell was one of our most respected guards, and what you describe is completely inconsistent with the values we expect from the royal family." Meanwhile, Sarah was struggling to adjust to civilian life after more than 2 decades of military service. She had found temporary work as a security consultant, but the transition was proving more difficult than she had anticipated. The structured life of the palace, the sense of purpose that came from serving something larger than herself, and the camaraderie of her fellow guards were all gone. Her small apartment felt lonely compared to the quarters she had occupied at the palace. The work she was doing was competent but uninspiring, lacking the meaning she had found in her previous position. Some days she wondered if she had made the right choice, if perhaps she should have simply followed the Queen's command and kept her position. But then she would remember the look in Queen Camilla's eyes during that confrontation, the clear expectation that Sarah would surrender her dignity simply because it was demanded of her. She would think about what kind of institution she would have been serving if she had complied, and her resolve would strengthen once again. One evening, as Sarah sat in her apartment reviewing security proposals for a corporate client, her phone rang with an unknown number. She answered hesitantly, not expecting any calls at that hour. "Commander Mitchell, this is Lady Catherine Pemberton. I hope you remember me from the palace." Sarah certainly remembered Lady Pemberton, who had been the only one of Queen Camilla's attendants to show any sympathy during the confrontation. "Of course, Lady Pemberton. How did you get my number?" "I have some connections who were able to help me reach you," Lady Pemberton replied. "I wanted you to know that your departure has had significant consequences within the palace. Several of the guards who supported you have requested transfers, and morale among the remaining staff has been quite low." The conversation continued for nearly an hour, with Lady Pemberton providing insights into how the palace had been functioning since Sarah's departure. The picture she painted was not encouraging. Queen Camilla had become increasingly isolated, suspicious of her staff, and demanding in ways that were creating ongoing tensions. "There's something else you should know," Lady Pemberton said near the end of their conversation. "Prince William has been asking questions about what really happened. I think he is planning to take some kind of action." 2 days later, Sarah received a formal letter delivered by courier. The envelope bore the seal of Prince William, and Sarah opened it with trembling hands. The letter was brief but extraordinary in its implications. "Dear Commander Mitchell," it read, "I have conducted a thorough review of the events leading to your departure from the Royal Guard. I want you to know that your conduct during that difficult situation reflects the highest values of military service and personal integrity. I would like to offer you a position on my personal security team, where your experience and principles would be valued and respected. If you are interested, Please contact my office to arrange a meeting." Sarah read the letter 3 times, hardly believing what she was seeing. Not only was she being vindicated for her actions, but she was being offered a chance to return to the kind of meaningful service she had lost. The position with Prince William's team would be different from her previous role, but it would allow her to serve the institution she still believed in while working for someone who shared her values. The meeting with Prince William took place the following week in his private office. Sarah arrived in her best civilian clothes, still feeling strange without her military uniform. Prince William greeted her warmly, immediately putting her at ease with his genuine manner and obvious respect for her service. "Commander Mitchell," he began, "I want to start by apologizing for what you experienced. The behavior you described is completely unacceptable and inconsistent with the values that should guide our family's interactions with those who serve us." They spent over an hour discussing not just the position he was offering, but the broader issues affecting the royal guard and palace staff. Prince William showed a deep understanding of the challenges faced by those in service positions and a genuine commitment to creating a work environment based on mutual respect. "I can't undo what happened to you," Prince William said as their meeting concluded, "but I can ensure that your experience and integrity are valued going forward. Your willingness to stand up for your principles, even at great personal cost, is exactly the kind of character we need in positions of trust." Sarah accepted the position immediately, feeling for the first time in weeks that she was making a decision that honored both her principles and her desire to serve. The role would be challenging and different, but it would allow her to work for someone who understood that true loyalty was built on respect, not submission. News of Sarah's new position spread quickly through both the palace and the broader security community. For her former colleagues still serving in the royal guard, it was a sign that standing up for principles could ultimately be rewarded rather than punished. Several of them reached out to congratulate her and express their own hope that positive changes might be coming. The incident had lasting effects throughout the royal household. Queen Camilla found herself increasingly isolated as staff members became more cautious about their interactions with her. The easy authority she had once exercised was now tempered by the knowledge that people were watching her behavior and judging it against standards of decency and respect. Captain Bradley and the other guards who had supported Sarah were never directly punished, but they found themselves gradually moved to less prominent positions. Some requested transfers to other duties, while others simply endured the changed atmosphere while hoping for better days ahead. For Sarah, the new position represented not just professional redemption, but personal validation. She had sacrificed a career she loved for principles she believed in, and ultimately found that those principles led her to an even better situation. Working with Prince William's team, she discovered that service could be both meaningful and dignifying when it was based on mutual respect rather than arbitrary demands. The story of Commander Sarah Mitchell's confrontation with Queen Camilla became a quiet legend within security and military circles, though the details were never publicly confirmed. It served as a reminder that integrity sometimes requires difficult choices, but that those choices can ultimately lead to greater opportunities and deeper satisfaction. Years later, when Sarah looked back on that morning in the courtyard, she felt no regret about her decision. The moment of conflict that had seemed to end her career had actually opened the door to something better. She had learned that true honor cannot be surrendered for convenience, and that sometimes the greatest service comes from being willing to stand alone for what is right. The incident also served as a learning experience for the royal family, highlighting the importance of treating all staff members with dignity and respect. While Queen Camilla never publicly acknowledged any wrongdoing, subtle changes in palace protocols suggested that lessons had been learned about the proper exercise of authority. Sarah's story became an inspiration to others facing similar moral dilemmas, proving that standing up for principles, while often difficult in the moment, can lead to outcomes that honor both personal integrity and the institutions we serve. Her courage in that courtyard confrontation had ripple effects that extended far beyond her own career, contributing to a broader conversation about respect, dignity, and the true nature of loyal service.